All right, we are in Russia today. We're in Moscow. And that big building behind us is the Russian White House. It's called the Belly Dome. It's a historic building. It's a building where Boris Yeltsin walked down the stairs and declared an end to the attempted Soviet putsch of Mikhail Gorbachev in 1991, which ended up partly dissolving the Soviet Union, and then later, on October 4th, 1993, Boris Yeltsin shelled that building in an effort to stay in power. So I was there that day, and I've told my kids this story on and on, and I want my grandkids to hear it so that they can hear why I'm writing my dissertation on that very topic. So we got home on October 3rd, 1993 from Nizhny Novgorod. We rode the train back, and we were visiting my friend's family in Nizhny Novgorod on the weekend. And unbeknownst to us, there was a riot going on in Russia that day right by that building. A bunch of people died. We had no idea. We got home and the streets were pretty empty. We went back up to our apartment and saw what was happening on television. Kind of freaked out a little bit. Next morning we got up at, early in the morning, and Boris Yeltsin was on television giving a speech about why he had just called in the military and why he had just brought in tanks to storm that building to remove the deputies from the Congress of People's Deputies. We called our boss from London. He was in London. He called us and told us to stay at the apartment and not go anywhere. But like two American idiots who were 18, I think I was 23 at the time. We decided to go to that building and watch the tanks shell it. So we took the metro and went to Red Square, which was closed. And then we walked down our bot, which was full of tanks and personnel carriers and soldiers. It was packed. I couldn't believe how much military was there. And then we went across the street from the American Embassy, and we were listening to stuff that's going on. It was going on the radio. The embassy is about a quarter mile from behind that big white building. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Some guy jumped out from behind the building where we were, and then two other guys, and they started shooting machine guns right next to us, up at the building across the street. And got a little crazy, but they were right next to us, and I freaked out a little bit. And we hunkered down, and we ended up against the building by the bushes, right across the street from the embassy. And then we ended up going into the doorway, and there was this old lady that was sweeping the sidewalk right there. And then she told us that, come in here and be safe and just sit down and chill. So we sat in there for a while, and then all of a sudden the door pops open and some guy points a machine gun in there and starts screaming. And I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't speak Russian that well, and I was kind of freaked out, obviously. And then he took off past us with two other guys with machine guns, and they were going up to the roof, I guess. And we asked the old lady where he was going, and she said, "Oh, there's a sniper up on the roof, and he's going up there to shoot him." So it was crazy. But everything calmed down, and then I left, went over to my friend's house, and they were getting dressed and getting ready to go down to the White House where we had just been. And I told her, I was like, "Don't go, man, it's crazy. We just got caught in a gunfight." And she's like, "Nah, we're gonna go down and chill. You just stay here and watch TV." So I stayed there and watched television for a while. They left. And then my roommate, who I was with before, he had stayed there, and he got caught in a worse gunfight that he had taped on an audio tape and showed it to me. And he said, "Hey man, let's go. We're gonna go down there together and go back." I'm like, "Dude, you're crazy. I'm not going down there." But like a dummy, I went back down with him, and we went to back to that big white building. And There were tanks up on top of the bridge, and we walked under the bridge on the stairs. And then we got up on the bridge and we're kind of checking out. There was no shooting at this point. It was probably about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we walked over towards the White House, and everybody started saying, hey, they're not shooting anymore. It's over. And we thought, hey, that'd be cool, man. We're like living history. This thing's over with. So we walked over to the White House and tore down some razor wire, and then we went inside the White House I don't know why we were doing this, but we walked inside the White House on the bottom floor, and people were stealing stuff. People were stealing carrots and cheese and televisions, and all these Russians were laughing. It was just a surreal experience. And then we were walking through, the lights were off, it was dark. The power had been shut off. Yeltsin shut the power off about a week before that. So Paul made a torch, and we were walking through the inside of the White House, and all of a sudden I heard somebody yell, they're shooting again. And like I said, I didn't speak Russian really well at the time, but I understood that. So we took off in the dark and just ran straight down the hallway where we had been exploring, and you could see the light at the end of the hallway. So we just sprinted because I could hear people running behind us, and we didn't want to get trampled. And then when we got to the entryway underneath the stairs, everybody was trying to get, there was, I don't know how many people, there was way over 100. They were all trying to get through the bottom set of doors, and I thought, man, I'm not going through there. There's way too many people. I'm going to get trampled. So I just stood by the windows underneath the stairs, and then some Russian guy came by he had a chair in his hand, and he threw it through both panes of glass right next to me. And then my roommate grabbed my backpack, and he's like, let's go. So he grabbed me and pulled me through the glass, and then we ran out from under the stairs down the driveway towards our bot, and all I could hear was guns and stuff shooting, and I don't know what they were shooting at, but I had my hands on the back of my neck because I was afraid I was going to get shot. And then I jumped a wall, and somebody had written in the blood that was on the ground, Yeltsin's a murderer, and I ran all the way to the garden ring. It's probably about a half a mile. I just sprinted, and my roommate was there with me. I'm like, I'm going home. He's like, well, I'll be there in about an hour. I'm going to chill out. I'm like, no, I'm going home. I went back to the apartment. I packed all my stuff up, and then 2 days later, I was on a plane back to the United States. But I ended up coming back about 3 weeks later. So, I just reminded of the story because Dee Dee and I just walked by the White House, and I showed her everything and pointed it all out. And, so that's why I'm writing my dissertation about it, because it was a part of my life that I thought was really cool, and now I'm going to write about it. And instead of writing about it from a first-person perspective, I'm going to write about it as a scholar who's studying the aftermath and what happened then. So there's the story. Welcome to Russia, and I'll be back next week.